Hi guys, I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be reactions for WrestleMania Backlash 2022. Let's get into it. I got 3 out of the 6 matches correct. That's not too bad. I got half of the pay-per-view right. I was kind of a little bit off my game for this pay-per-view. I don't know what it was, if it was I rushed the pay-per-view or if it was just because I thought this pay-per-view was a little bit weaker than it normally is. And it kind of was. The matches were good to make it not look weak, but in actuality, the pay-per-view was weak. Because there's only like one stipulation match and there's only one championship match. And that's really just about it. I mean, nothing big happens. I mean, it's stuff you pretty much know is going to happen. It's set up, implied. You know, like I said, it's a weak pay-per-view. The matches were good, but simply just a weaker pay-per-view with just one championship match. I can't still get my head around that there was only one championship match on this whole entire pay-per-view. Overall, it was a weak show, but the show was good overall. But I think they could have done a little bit better with the planning of this pay-per-view. So the first match of the night is a singles match. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Winner of the singles match, Cody Rhodes. Overall, that was a pretty good match. Second match of the night is a singles match. Bobby Lashley versus Omas. Winner of the singles match, Omas. Another pretty good match. It did better than I expected it would. The reason why Omas won is MVP helped Omas win the match, because MVP is the new manager of Omas. Third thing, singles match. Damian Priest is banned from ringside. AJ Styles versus Edge. Winner of the singles match, Edge. The thing about this match is AJ Styles almost won again. But guess what happens? Damian Priest gets involved again. But he's stopped by Finn Balor. But AJ Styles still loses because another person gets involved. So, before I get into who it is, I want to talk about a rumor that I've been hearing for a little bit now. I haven't really talked about it much, like, on my YouTube channel when I've been doing, like, Monday Night Raw news videos. I knew eventually it was going to happen, but I didn't know when. But I agree, it's a perfect time for it to happen now. I'm talking about Rhea Ripley. There has been a rumor going around lately that Rhea Ripley would join this faction of Damian Priest and Edge, and that's what happened tonight, and that's why AJ Styles lost. Rhea Ripley got involved in the match and helped Edge win. But, this rumor has been going around for a little bit now, for like at least a couple weeks. I figured ever since Rhea Ripley broke up from Liv Morgan that this would happen. I just didn't know when. But tonight was a great night for Rhea Ripley to join Edge's faction and help Edge beat AJ Styles. So, yep, that's that. The fourth thing is an I Quit match for the Smackdown Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Winner of the singles match, or winner of the I Quit match, and new Smackdown Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. So, I wasn't kind of expecting this. If you haven't watched my predictions video earlier, go watch it. But in my predictions video, I talked about how this feud maybe would have went on longer if Charlotte Flair would have won again. But that didn't happen, so I think the feud is over. Plus, I think they're taking Charlotte Flair off of TV for a little bit, giving her a break after her loss of the Smackdown Women's Championship. Because there was a little segment during the pay-per-view saying that that Charlotte Flair actually did break her arm or broke her arm or whatever. So she will be out for a little bit. It's more of a, I don't think she's actually injured. I think it's more of just, it's more of a fake injury to take her off TV for a little bit and give her a break. Originally what I thought was, because it was a rumor that this feud would actually be longer, and then Ronda Rousey would win the championship, just to not like what happened last time when she won the Rollins championship fast. This time she didn't win it as fast, but overall it was a good feud and WWE did a good job with it. I thought it could have gone on a little bit longer because that's what the rumor was about, but it didn't happen, and I was wrong about that. Fifth thing, singles match, Happy Corbin versus Madcap Moss. Winner of the singles match, Madcap Moss. Now this one I got right. I think they're going to do something with Madcap Moss. I'm not too sure what, but they're going to give Madcap Moss a push. Now, I really wish WWE would change his name, because I don't really freaking like Madcap Moss. I think Madcap Moss is the stupidest name ever. I think they need to change his name Madcap. Moss? His last name Moss is okay. Or simply just calling him Moss is fine. But Madcap, I'm not too sure what that name actually means. And I don't really like that name. I think it's stupid, but overall, I think I like what WWE's doing with Madcap Moss right now. They're giving him a push. And I think they're going to set up some big things with him if WWE plays his character right. WWE is not at the best at doing that, and they could always ruin it at the moment's notice. So I'm happy with what WWE is doing so far with Madcap Moss. And the sixth thing and the main event is a 6-man tag team match. Drew McIntyre and RK Bro versus the Bloodline. Winners of the 6-man tag team match and the Bloodline. Overall, it was a pretty good match, but that's not what I was expecting for the pay-per-view. What I was actually expecting was the Smackdown and Raw Tag Team Championship unification match for the tag team titles. A lot of people were actually angry about that change. I know why it changed. So they were planning this feud with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, but they didn't have enough time to set up the feud. So that's why they had to do the 6-man tag team match. Now, I still thought, changing it was bad. You know what they could have done, right? I think it would have been a better idea if all the titles were on the line. Like have the unified WWE and Universal Championship on line with Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre in the match. And then have the unification match with the Raw SmackDown Tag Team Championship with RK Bro and the Usos during the match. But they didn't do that. I think WWE didn't do that because they thought it would have been too complex of an idea of the fans to understand. I would have understand that if they did that instead. Plus, that would be a way bigger match on the pay-per-view than just having Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Instead of having one match, they would have had 3. See what I mean? See how that would have been better instead of having just this 6-man tag team match? It's just, WWE just does not think out their ideas. They don't think out their future. They don't like to do long-term ideas. They only like to do short-term ideas. And I don't really like when they do that because it doesn't work. I think the long-term stories always work out best for WWE, but they're so used to doing these short-term storylines, it doesn't work. So what do I think is the match of the night? The match of the night, in my opinion, is the I Quit match for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And you guys are probably surprised by that. Joey, why didn't you go with the main event? Well, I don't think the main event was that great. Honestly, you could have had that on Raw, SmackDown, NXT. It would still be the same thing, and it would still get the same reaction from the fans. I'm not complaining. It was a good match, but it was just not good enough for the main event. If things were switched and they had that match at the start of the show and Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair at the end of the show, it would have been a much better pay-per-view pacing-wise, which was not that great to begin with, because this pay-per-view felt, a little bit rushed, and it was a weak pay-per-view is what I'm saying. So that's why I picked that match as the match of the night. What is the underdog match of the night? I'm going to have to say AJ Styles versus Edge. There was a lot of stuff going into the match, and there was a lot of stuff going out of the match storyline-wise. So overall, it was a good match, and there was a lot that had to do with that match. So that's the underdog match of the night. What is the honorable mention? Well, like I said, I can't just leave this match out of it just because, what I thought didn't happen happened. I would say the honorable mention is the 6-man tag team match between Drew McIntyre and RK Bro versus the Bloodline. Like I said, that wasn't the greatest main event they could have had. If things were switched, it would have been a little bit of a better pay-per-view. People probably wouldn't have seen it as that weak. And what Roman Reigns said when he started this heel character, he only wanted to go on during the beginning of the show or the ending of the show. So, yeah, like I said, the main event was not that great to begin with. It was a good match. I'm not saying it's bad, and I didn't like what happened, but, overall, the show was weak. There was a lot of good matches, but it was just weak because there was really no build-up to this pay-per-view. You call this pay-per-view WrestleMania Backlash, and there's not so much WrestleMania in there. It's just one championship match, one big match, and a lot of good matches. But, you want to see more championship matches. That's what the pay-per-view is for. The Intercontinental Championship hasn't been defended at a pay-per-view since WrestleMania 37. 37. And I saw something about that the other day, and I'm like, what the fuck? What is WWE doing? That is like the second prestigious championship on SmackDown. What are they doing? Same thing with the United States Championship. They just don't use those titles enough. So, overall, a weak pay-per-view, but they did good overall. I think this video is way longer than I wanted it to be, but I just didn't feel like that enthusiastic for this pay-per-view when I did my predictions. After watching it, I got a little bit more enthusiastic, but it's a weak pay-per-view. They just didn't get the setup for this pay-per-view right. It's called WrestleMania Backlash. You need to have the big pay-per-view, but it was not that big because, like I said, there was one championship match, one big match, and a couple good matches. That's it. So, those were my predictions and reactions for WrestleMania Backlash 2022. Please post a comment. What were your predictions and reactions for WrestleMania Backlash 2022? And if you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace, period.